Erev Tov Rabbi Say, this evening we are arriving at a incredible and central and very beautiful midah to work on in Sirus Omer, the midah of Tefaረት Shebetfaert. Tefaret Shebetfaert is the essence of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu is represented by and paradigmatic of midas HaTeferet. Within the world of Ben Adam L'Makam, the relationship that we have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the midah of Tefaret Shebetfaert begins with an understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be as beautiful as we possibly can, as elevated, as transcendent, as unified, as wholesome as we possibly can be, and through that, that we make a Kiddush Hashem in the world. That through the multiplicity of perspectives of the Jewish people that are all unified and working together and operating with unity and with harmony, that is elevating the perspective that the world has of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the midah of Yaakov Avinu, who puts 12 stones around his head and wakes up in the morning and finds that they have coalesced, that they have combined into one stone. What's pshat in that medrash? So the Maharal writes in Guraria that, thank you. Found the stender. Look at that. Ashracha. Thank you so much. The Maharal writes in Guraria that Yaakov Avinu is particularly capable of this midah of Teferet, this midah of unifying the stones that are around his head, because by Yaakov Avinu everything can eventually coalesce into this unity, this oneness, this wholesomeness. Now, of course, Yaakov Avinu is the father of the 12 tribes of the Jewish people, all of whom are unique, disparate, complex, wholesome, and total perspectives, people, and shitos in and of themselves. Meaning each of the Shvatim is its own mini Klal Yisrael. And yet all of them together coalesce together to form this thing called Klal Yisrael. And that is all within Yaakov Avinu midas HaTeferet. Meaning Tefaret Shebetfaert is seeing the total awesomeness of each and every Jew, and within that, to be able to see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is even more unified than that. It requires, of course, a deep understanding of the midas of Chesed and Gvura that put together make up this thing called midas HaTeferet, that Teferet transcends. And then when we understand the Teferet that is within the Jewish people, every single Jew, from every walk of life, from every different perspective, from all of the different shitos, so that together forms this thing called Teferet. That's Yisrael Asher B'chai Yispare, and we make the bracha every single morning, and this is a kavanah to tomorrow morning when you make the bracha, Oiter Yisrael B'sifar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu crowns the Jewish people with this midah of Teferet. That's the thought for tomorrow morning. But beyond the Ben Adam L'Makam understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu being the great Teferet of the world, the most beautiful and unified and wholesome complexity that exists in all of existence and beyond, there is also a deep need to understand that this is not just in the grand and great perspectives. And to this end, of course, Pasuk says, "Ma Gadol Ma'asecha Hashem," how great are your ma'asim, Hashem. Hashem, how amazing and wondrous and awesome and enormous are your ma'asim. Rav Kook points out in Oros HaTorah in the third parak that as much as a Jew has to look at the world and declare Ma Gadol Ma'asecha Hashem, we also have to declare Ma Katnu Ma'asecha Hashem. Ribono Shel Olam, it's not just that everything that you do is enormous. You also do tiny things. And the tiny things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does are worlds upon worlds upon worlds in and of themselves. And we have discovered in recent years and generations with the power of the telescope and the power of the microscope, Ma Gadol Ma'asecha Hashem and Ma Katnu Ma'asecha Hashem. The grand and great beauty and harmony and unity that exists within the universe as well as within the atom. That both of these things are representations of and indicative of the Teferet of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning if one thing goes wrong in a galaxy, so the whole thing, spirals out of control, implodes, doesn't exist. And if one thing goes wrong in an atom, the same thing. Meaning, Ma Gadol Ma'asecha Hashem, the grand picture of the Tiferes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but also the tiny, minuscule perspective. That everything is operating on this subatomic level of Ma'akat Masech Hashem, that's Tiferes within the Tiferes. That both great and small are screaming out, Masech Hashem, this is all the work of the Ribono Shel Olam. What about within the avodah that a Jew has within ourselves? The Tiferes, Shebetfaaret within our own lives, our own avodah. So Tiferes means balancing, means unity, means harmony, means finding. If we talk about this mathematically, this would be optimization. And one can ask themselves from time to time, how much can you optimize your life? How much can you optimize between chesed and gevura? So you might think that there is an optimization equation of the midos that we have, that there is X amount of chesed and X amount of gevura. When you put these two things together in the right, bingo, that's called Tiferes. No. The midah of Tiferes is infinite. Means that you can always optimize your life further. You can always do better. There is always more and more and more and more and more and more that a person can figure out. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want from me at this moment? How can I fine-tune my midos at this moment? That which I thought yesterday was perfectly attuned, I've now realized that there is a more darker perspective. I can have a more nuanced perspective within that. And that is also a Tiferes. And those things that I might have thought, a year ago, that was a perfect optimization of my time and my diet and my learning and my schedule and my shalom bayis and raising my children, whatever it might be. All the midos that we're working on, all of the domains of existence. I had all of these things and I worked it out. So this year, I can fine-tune that a little bit further. There's more work to be done. There is more that I could figure out. And the example that I give from time to time is, you ask somebody. You have a guy that's whatever it is, a guy that's 450 pounds. So you say to him, when you order pizza, how much pizza do you eat? He says, I eat a pie of pizza. Every pie is a personal pie if you try hard enough, right? So he says, I eat a pie of pizza. You say to him, Shkoyach, Mazel Tov, that's very nice. Yeah, maybe you think it'll make a difference if instead of eating 8 slices, you eat 7. So he goes, what difference does it make? So does it make a difference if you eat 7 versus 8? Yes. Will he feel that? Probably not. But it will make a difference. La'at, if he does tiny little things, it will make a difference eventually. It will make a difference. But imagine the difference between 1 slice and half a slice if you are riding, if you're cycling the Tour de France. Like every gram there is calculated, every calorie is calculated and finely attuned to ensure that you have the perfect power input and output in order to be able to have a half-second, meaning everything can be further fine-tuned. You can fine-tune everything. So you have somebody that at the beginning of cycling doesn't make a difference whether I'm eating this or that, but at the highest levels of everything can be fine-tuned further and further. That's Tefaaret, Shebetfaaret. And that's how the Gross said. The Midah said about the Vilna Gaon that he had a little notebook by Yom Kippur time. At the end of the year, he would sit down and give a din v'cheshbon on every minute of his year. Every minute. I mean, you think to yourself, how fine-tuned can it? Every minute. If you take a look at the Formula One, so when it gets to the pit stops, any time that you can shave off a quarter of a second, they'll hire a whole new crew, right? Because every fraction of a second is money. That's the difference between a win and a loss. You can always fine-tune yourself. That's Tefaaret, Shebetfaaret. You can optimize further and further and further. What about the midah of Tefaaret, Shebetfaaret within the world of Ben Adam Lechavero? So as we pointed out, the midah of Tefaaret is the midah of Rachamim. It's seeing the big picture, where this person is also part of Ratzon Hashem. That this person is also part of the grand image and perspective and picture of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from the world. Tefaaret Shebetfaaret is when the way that we treat other people gets them to see themselves and other people as essential within the grand picture of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. Meaning that the world is only optimized by them existing. And when you look at another Jew and you say, wow, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does something amazing by putting you in this world, and you can convince them of that. You can show that to them. You can demonstrate it. You can prove it. You can act in such a way that every individual feels that. That's called Teferet Shebetfaaret. Not only that you are mitpa'er by showing that person how beautiful they are, but that they feel that themselves, and they want to share that with other people. That's Teferet Shebetfaaret, 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 and it keeps on going. That it's possible for a person to feel how special they are, and how beautiful they are, how necessary they are, and how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves them, and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is treating them in this world, and that every time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does wonderful things for them, and every time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does terrible things to them, or that all of that is all because HaKadosh Baruch Hu desperately wants you to be successful in this world. When you can convince a person of that, because you truly, honestly believe it, and see it, and act it, that they feel that way, and then demonstrate that to other people, that's called Midas Teferet Shebetfaaret. We should all be Zeich.